Welcome to another episode of You're Built for This, where we highlight entrepreneurs, business owners who are early on in their journey. We pay attention to where they've been. We look at what they're doing and also take a glimpse into where they're actually heading. Today, we have two special guests, Aleta Hurd and Winter Clay, CEO and co-founder of Masters of Maternity, where they pay close attention to women in the labor and delivery process, specifically focused around doula support and access to moms everywhere. So it's a pleasure to have you both on this episode.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Cool. Well, before we go into what you all are doing with Masters of Maternity, I would love to kind of get an in-depth look of where you all have been. Essentially, like what's your backgrounds leading up to creating this particular company. So I guess we can start with Aleta, and then we can switch over to Winter.
Sure. So it's been a long journey. Masters of Maternity has been alive since last year. So we're actually a year old as of early this month. And it really started out as just an idea, a really ambitious idea because of our own experiences as mothers and myself as a new mother, especially. My daughter is one now, but my experience as an African-American female was just a little bit on, it was a positive experience, but I obviously had some adverse outcomes myself. And, I don't consider myself wealthy, but I also don't consider myself part of the unfortunate group of women who may be able to attribute the adverse outcomes to that factor. And with everything that was still done and all of the information that I had access to, I experienced a lot of, adversity. And part of that really just allowed me to use my technical background, which is really what I specialize in, just being a specialist in technology, but also my experience as a mother and being able to really focus my passion on those two endeavors, just collaborating those two together and figure out what is missing here, like what is the actual issue? Thank God I made it out alive, but why are so many moms dying and experiencing so many adverse outcomes? And when I started to really drill down into that issue, oh God, it's a very complex field. It's a complicated issue. It's a crowded field, if you would. And innovation is not a monopoly. So there's a lot of people trying to solve this issue, but I think there's not enough innovative solutions. So like we have all of these modern technology solutions. We can literally scrape the bottom of the ocean and scan the ocean using technology. And, we can get into space and everything using technology, but we can't figure out why moms are dying. And the tools are available. So I just really started to, figure out how we can start to leverage technology. And it's not a simple answer. Women are more similar than they are different. So race isn't the only issue here, but the factors, the causes of these issues and what we can do, that's kind of where we come in, and we want to use technology to create those solutions.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. And so I do have a quick question. So I know your background, I saw that you studied health in college and undergrad, and then you got your master's in tech. So when you were studying health in college, was the long-term goal and vision for you to merge your health background into tech, or did that just come out of nowhere for you?
It's really come full circle, Aaron, if you would. I never thought that I would be trying to bring everything together: mom, technology, the platform of my healthcare background. Actually, when I was in healthcare as an undergrad, I was thinking I wanted to be a part of the Joint Commission. I wanted to go into the hospitals. Almost like I used to compare myself to a Gabrielle Union. I was that dominant female going into the hospitals telling them, this is what's wrong and this is how you need to fix it right now. But then I ran into my daughter's here, so we'll have a guest. I ran into some personal issues with a family member, ended up having to care for them, and it completely distracted me and just made me shift my whole thought process to figure out, is there a different way to get into the healthcare solutions without actually being part of the clinical staff? So never would have thought it would have been collaborated or combined in this way, full circle. But it's funny how things just play out, right?
Right, for sure. And then switching over to Winter, I know, so you're a licensed doula now, correct?
Yeah, well, technically, I'm not certified yet, but I am a licensed nurse.
Okay.
Nurse. I'm going through a birthing advocacy program right now, so I should be certified by the end of this year. But I like to consider myself an impromptu doula, so I kind of was certified by the community, if you will. Just with my being in the clinical field already, I feel like a lot of my clients just had that trust for me because I was aware of the birthing process. But my background is in all OB. I did high-risk OB, postpartum, and then I currently work as a labor and delivery nurse in a local birthing center here.
Well, and so was that always a dream for you as a young child? I know we always have these visions for ourselves, like growing up. Like I think at one point I wanted to be a cop. I changed over to wanting to be a football player, and then a basketball player, and I'm doing none of those now. So like for you, was that always the vision for you growing up, or did that just kind of come?
Yes, I've always wanted to be a nurse. I wasn't sure what kind of nurse until I got to high school. I was a teen mom, and I think between my birthing experience and then I did an internship for 3 years at a local university here, and I fell in love with the maternity ward. So
we always wanted to deliver babies, and we knew each other since we were teenagers in high school. And her goal was to always, regardless of whether it was a midwife, a nurse, however, her goal was to always be in the field of delivering babies.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool. And so, okay, unpack what a doula actually is, because I know it can kind of be misconstrued in like the medical community, and sometimes I really don't know what the actual true definition is. Do you get a doula before the birthing process, during, and is it something that moms can, someone that moms can use after they actually give birth?
Yeah. So a doula, the way that I look at it is someone who follows you out throughout your whole entire pregnancy. She's there during your birth, and then she's absolutely there in a part of your postpartum journey as well. Some doulas you only meet during your birth, and I had that experience, and that's something that me and Aleta has together evaluated and felt that it needed to be a little bit more than that, because moms lack knowing their options. That's an issue, and that's, we'll talk more about Masters of Maternity and how we're trying to fill in that gap. But I think it's important for doulas to get to know their moms, because they know what their preferences are, what their fears are. They're able to help encourage them, reveal to them based on their preferences what options they have available, and then they also act as their advocate.
Sounds good. That makes sense. And now I was going to ask like how you all met, but it seems like you all been homies since day one, since high school. So what actually made you all, think to create this? So because I know you both had your personal experience with labor and delivery. You've been been a career for you, and both being moms of your own. So what was the conversation like when you all were like, let's do this? Like, how did this like come about?
It was God ordained. Okay. So that's simply put. But originally, I think I was afraid to share my idea with Winter because of the intellectual property piece. And I was like, I think when she had uncovered something that she was working on, I'll let her share that. And I loved it. I was already in the background brainstorming my technical solution. I had already made it a sole proprietorship at the time, already writing out the business plan. So when she started to uncover some of her ideas that she was working on through her business, I was just like, that's so interesting. But I took it away and just prayed about it, because I had a fear. I was like, I don't want to share this idea with her, and then, either she doesn't believe it, or she might think I'm crazy, or she might think I'm trying to steal her idea, or she might steal my idea. Friends or not, intellectual property is intellectual property, right? So,
and that's so interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that is so interesting, because that's something I was having a conversation with my girlfriend about recently. Is that, entrepreneurs, like when we're creating companies, and I know I've had so many ideas before, and I'm like, I don't want to share my idea with anyone because I'm afraid that they may take it and run with it. And I think sometimes like that fear kind of like makes us not act in regards to some things, and we don't realize that sometimes a team is necessary. But for some reason, and especially folks within the Black community, it's like we have this thing in our gut that from back in the day, like somebody's going to take our idea or steal our ideas. So how did you overcome that? Like, was it her being able to share hers that made you feel more comfortable in it?
I think it was, well, so I really, I'm really big on business. Like I'm the businessy person. So like when she was telling me her ideas, I was like, you really need to focus on building that out formally before you're publicized, like getting a trademark, getting the EIN number, getting all of that formal stuff in place, because she was more brave than I was. She was like, I got this idea, I'm just going to put it out there and start it. I was like, no, somebody could see it and they could just take it away from you. So we had that conversation, and as I continued to pray, and she was very teachable. You know, she wanted to hear my thoughts about her idea, and I think her willingness to hear my thoughts, and then my discernment, and through prayer, I just texted her one day and I was like, hey, I love what you're doing. I want to share with you what I'm doing, but we actually have to have a long conversation and talk about it because it's a lot. Yeah. And when we started to unfold what that looked like, we just decided that we uncovered the fact that she had been praying about it as well, because she had been working with somebody who wanted to expand her idea, but she didn't know how. So that knowing how to expand it, and my idea was just like, wow, God, like the perfect collaboration. And we were friends forever. They say don't do business with your friends, but they also say find a co-founder that you've known for over 7 years. So Winter and I have that in a nutshell. And I think that, you know, the passion that she displays in her day-to-day actions, not just at work, but the passion, and then the trust. The trust has always been there, but that's huge. That's critical when you're partnering with somebody. I think those two things is what really stood out to me and made it easier for me to share my idea with Winter and desire to collaborate with her on everything. And I was just thankful that she was willing to expand on what she was doing and kind of like believe in what I was doing enough to say, well, let's like scrap that and just build on it.
Right.
It's been an awesome journey so far. Winter, I'll let you speak to your part, your perspective.
I kind of lost sight of what the question was. I was just enjoying hearing the backstory.
No, and I think one thing, and before I repeat the question, I want to say, like, and you like highlighted on a key point, Aleta, is like above all things, like pray, and then the biggest thing, pray for wisdom, and then also pray for understanding over everything, and that kind of led you all together. So the question was more so around like how did you all come together? And like, how did you all create this? And maybe Winter, you can allude to this as well. I'm interested in the name. And so like, did you all like come up with Master Maternity and say, oh, that's the MOM acronym? Or did you say MOM and then want to like, then kind of backtracked and like tried to figure out what stands in the acronym? I'm just curious.
So I'll let Aleta speak on the name piece.
Okay.
Because she has the backstory on that. But Aleta kind of went over how we integrated together. She said I was working on a Brown Live doula directory because I had come across the maternal mortality rate, especially for African-American women, and it vexed my spirit being a woman of color. I found this information out at a local hospital I was working at, and I was really, really upset inside because they weren't doing anything, or they didn't reveal any concrete solutions on what we could do as healthcare providers to make change. So I started researching my own solutions about how I could just individually do my part in helping improving women's experiences as it relates to birth and just the perinatal experience at home. And I came across doulas, and I knew what doula was, but when I researched how to improve women's experience, I just kept seeing the word pop up. So I said, there has to be more to this, because I had a doula, and yeah, it was nice, but I don't think that I understood exactly holistically what they did. So I researched that information, and I decided that I wanted to create a local directory for moms, because moms really didn't understand what doulas were, and we don't have a directory here in the city of Pittsburgh for moms to be able to use that type of resource to find one. So that's the idea that I was working on. And there was a couple other things, moving pieces to it. But like Aleta said, when she heard my vision, she really liked it. And she was really had that business perspective, because I had hit a wall working with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Where I didn't know, I don't have that business background. And she was able to give me some solutions on how to move forward. And then she revealed to me her idea, and she shared how that conversation went, but she'll also share like how she birthed the name of the business. And then I just wanted to serve her. So after she shared it, and we kind of was like, we're super passionate about this area, maternal mortality, but moms at whole. I told her I just wanted to serve her, and I didn't necessarily agree to a business title. I just wanted to serve her vision.
Yeah.
And like she said, we did a lot of praying. And one day we just felt like God was like, okay, integrate your ideas. And then it's just been free game from here.
I wrote that because I remember asking you, can you be my partner, like co-founder partner? And I forget what day that was. That was the anniversary date.
Oh, wow.
But we did, and it was so organically just brought about. And then the acronym MOM. So MOM actually came first, because when I was thinking about what we wanted to do with it, it was like, moms need a mom to go to. Like, they need a solution. Like, if you think about what your mom represents in your life, that's your guidance. You go to your mom. You want to at least go to your mom. You know, if you think about the persona of a mom in someone's life, they're resourceful. They have the wisdom. They have everything that you need, even if it's just pointing you in the right direction or giving you advice or, you know, offering all these solutions. I wanted it to be the mom of moms, right? We always said a Google for all mom things. But then I was like, what can we do? I was literally sitting on the couch with my husband, and I was like, what can we do with mom? And maternity was an obvious one. And then I'm big on, like, I don't know, striving for the best of the best of the best. So Masters of Maternity just organically flew out my mouth. I was like, Masters of Maternity. I need to go write that down. And I ran into the office. I wrote it down. And my husband was like, that's dope. He was like,
cool.
So we're trademarked. That was one of the first things I did.
That is cool. That's cool. And so, like, going back into like what the actual like platform is, I know it's centered around doula access now, but I know that's not where you all plan to stop it. And it's like you mentioned, I think you alluded to it a bit, like you plan to take this outside of just being a doula directory, but like be more. Outside of the doula directory, where else do you plan to take it? Like, what are some of the other levers of the platform do you plan to scale this into?
You can start. I'll piggyback off of.
So essentially, on a high level, we just want this to be a one-stop shop for moms. So we want all motherhood resources to have a home in this platform. Like Aleta had mentioned, we kind of want it to be a Google for moms. Like, I feel like there's so many resources out here, and it's so hard to find them unless you know somebody who's experienced the resource, or maybe they came across it. But so many times I birthed 3 babies, and each time I'm finding out new information that I wish that I knew about in my previous pregnancies, because I would have implemented that resources or participated in whatever the resource had to offer me as a mother. So we want all of the motherhood resources to be housed in our platform.
Amazing. And then, Aleta, I have a question in regards to tech in the healthcare industry. Do you think, you know, tech entrepreneurs and, you know, folks who are coders alike are all have some sort of responsibility to service the world in a sense? And the reason why I asked is because I was reading your LinkedIn, and on your LinkedIn it says, my mission is to utilize my passion for innovative technology to benefit society at large while serving as an example of success that will shape the future of society. Do you think more folks in the tech industry needs to have that same mindset in order for us to kind of advance as a society?
I do. And I think that it, like you said, it's something that we should just do as a people. But the issue is that there are obstacles in technology as well. So you don't see many people who look like me, you know, writing the code behind the computers or developing these innovative solutions for technology. And I just think that, you know, the tech people behind these screens aren't necessarily, you know, the most people people. Like they're not the people who are out here networking, communicating, wanting to engage in social events. They're behind the computer coding. Like that's what they want to do. They don't want to be at networking events. They don't want to use, I mean, your typical developer, computer scientist is a little bit more introvert. When you have that uniform, then yes, we have the responsibility, and that's pretty much what I consider myself, is that the unicorn of the tech world, because having those skill sets, having the passion to use technology and share it with the world, not that they don't want to share it with the world, I just don't think that it's their purpose. Their purpose is to develop code. So we could tell them to develop it, but they're not out here trying to, innovate new stuff and share it with the world. They're just trying to code it. So I'm the liaison really in everything that I do tech-wise, is really from coding to translating it to the people who aren't coding so that it's easier to understand and so that we can bring those solutions to the tech people to develop it.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for that. And then kind of reshifting the conversation back to the doula directory, right? There is, so the first question I have, there's, when I think of doula, I always think of like at home birth, right? Is that a misconception about doulas that you all come across often? Or is a doula just not simply being an at-home birth? It can be in the hospital or elsewhere, essentially.
So I think we need to be really clear about the fact that a doula, in its vaguest term, is a support person. So
exactly.
There are different types of doulas. There are bereavement doulas. There's fertility doulas. There's all kinds of different doulas. So we want to, be able to full spectrum. We want to be able to cover the board across all full spectrum doulas. But it is a common misperception that doulas are midwives, and this is a birth age type of thing. People always, I need a midwife, and they confuse it with a doula, or I need a doula to deliver my baby, and they're mixing the two together. So part of our mission is also to create that transparency, because this is an old age problem, right? Like it's literally the fact that there's a lack of access or a lack of equal access. There's so much information at our fingertips that just sounds crazy to me. Like, why are we still lacking that equal accessibility? And we're able to send people to Mars. Like the two, they just don't make sense to me. So that's why we want to use this cutting edge technology to create the transparency and use data, because anybody can come here and give you an opinion, but the numbers don't lie. Well, proven to improve birth rates and birth outcomes for mothers and for babies. So, our journey is really focused on the motherhood journey, but as an outcome, will also improve the lives of families, the lives of babies, the lives of all of the community resources and the birth workers who are trying to solve for this issue as well.
And unfortunately, cost is associated with everything in the world, essentially, right? So, like, the question I have for you all is having a doula expensive, and are insurance providers covering moms to have access to doulas, or is this something that moms are having to pay out of pocket for?
So, doulas can be looked at as expensive, but the cost is spread out through the duration of the pregnancy, and moms are pregnant for 10 months in my head, but we say 9 months. So typically a doula is hired in this second trimester. So it's usually in that 6-month time frame that cost is broken up. To answer your other question, as far as insurances paying for doulas, right now they are covering the Medicaid or the moms that are on basically welfare, that are getting state assistance. And we are currently trying to combat that, because we feel like if doulas improve birth outcomes, then it's saving our state, C-section costs and all those other cost associated things that when there's obstetric emergencies, that cost goes up significantly. So we're trying to fight that and pass a bill here locally so that all moms here can get doula coverage. And it's just like a part of her full birth coverage. Yeah, her full birth coverage.
Amazing.
I think the other thing too is it seems costly to a mother at first because you get that upfront bill, right? And it is costly. I'm not going to denounce the fact that when you get, like, let's just, the median is like $1,000 for a doula, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you see that as a mom who's pregnant, not knowing what to expect, you're like, whoa, I can't afford $1,000 right now. But if you think about it over the long term of 10 months, right? And that 10 months may not be the full time that they're covering you. Doulas aren't getting paid enough. They don't have job security. Doulas are most times freelance. They're out here trying to run their own business, get their own clientele. And it's more like a part-time gig, if you would, that they're passionate about, but they can't do full time because it doesn't pay enough. But what really plays into a factor is the labor and that day that the mother is birthing. I mean, just as to her experience, she can be in a birth room for 72 hours, and you're like, $1,000 can never pay me enough to do the things that, the things that she's actually doing. She's actually a real life, superhero. And any birth worker, doula, nurse, obstetrician, midwife, they're superheroes. They have a superpower that just many people don't. And $1,000 over, it's usually 6 months because most moms won't announce their pregnancy till they're solidified in their pregnancy after their first trimester. So yes, it does. It seems like a large cost. But just thinking about it from an hourly perspective, the salary that we calculate is actually in the range of $30,000 a year. And it is enough. So we're trying to improve that as well and create job security so that not only doulas are streamlined throughout the motherhood birth team, but that doulas have job security.
Right. And that was another question that I had in regards to the maternal death issue. Do you think we combat that by encouraging more people of color, especially women of color, to get into the birth working space or get into the healthcare industry? Or do you think that's just the tip of the iceberg and that just doing that alone won't, eradicate, this issue that we have?
I think we could both talk to that. I think it's both. So all of these little moving pieces that are seemingly large, they're all the tips of the iceberg, right? And diversifying birth workers is a huge solution because as an African American mom, I'll tell you now that I've had a doula before. I have a doula now, and you can, like I said, we're more similar than we are different. But Black women in general, if we can relate to each other in a way, we feel more comfortable working with people who look like us just because of the obvious, right? There are unconscious biases. There are unconscious biases built into the algorithms that we're using right now in our maternal healthcare systems right now. Like I literally was on a conversation and they were giving me a cesarean, a vaginal birth right after cesarean calculation, and they had to give me a disclaimer to say there's some unconscious biases behind this algorithm. So I'm going to give you the answers for a white woman and for a Black woman, and then we'll just say that it's between those numbers.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Today, like that was last week. So I say all that to say, having a Black woman on your birth team when there's no other Black woman on your birth team gives you this natural level of comfortability. When Winter walked into my birth room and started saying, "Oh wait, we need to replace your IV cord. We need to do this," and she wasn't my doula or my nurse. She was just here. I'm like, well, what are the nurses doing?
That's horrible. And then, like, the next question I have for you, and Winter or anyone, feel free to answer this. So I'm gonna frame it with the quote that I pulled off your Indiegogo website, which I'm going to talk about at the end for people to go donate. But it says women make up 50% of the population, but carry 100% of the future. So that was a dope quote to me. But I want to frame that in the sense of as a man, right? And you both have men in your life, and women can choose to, procreate with whoever, without a man if they wanted to, right? But as a man, and when we are with women and our girlfriends and our wives or whatever the case may be, do we have to do we hold a responsibility as well to stand up for the women in our lives in regards to the hospital, if that makes sense? So like when I go if I go to with my girlfriend about a paper cut, I'm like in there like being really serious about it, right? So do you think more men should do that, and how should we do that in a I guess a PC way? Because sometimes you can get a little amped up in regards to, but you're just trying to protect your woman.
So
How do we do that?
Story to share, and then I want Winter. I want you to answer that question because you're as a doula and a birth worker, like you probably can share your experience better. But just a quick story: when I was giving birth to my daughter, I had to get an emergency C-section after I was dilated 7 centimeters. Right, natural birth, completely unmedicated. And the nurse who came in, or the anesthesiologist who came in to give me the epidural, when he introduced himself, he was like, I've had 5 epidurals under my belt. I'm in residency, blah, 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 blah. My husband, I didn't hear none of that, okay? My husband heard it. But all I heard was, I'm sitting there with my back crunched. They were like, this is the most not desired experience that I wanted, but I have to do it to get my baby out safely. My husband was like, what? Let's take it. How many births do you have under your belt? He was like, 5, sir. He was like, yeah, can we get your boss over here? We need somebody that's waiting.
Who says that?
Stood up for me. And
Yeah,
this was so awesome. And I was like, thank you for doing that, because I didn't even hear that. Like, I wasn't in my, and most moms don't. They're not in the right frame of mind to make decisions. And that's where doula comes in. But also your male allies, your male advocates, your male partners, whether it's a male partner or a female partner, I think they do play a huge role in taking that perspective. So when I'll let you finish answering my question.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important because I think that, for one, it really helps change the tone of the room for the medical professionals when a male or the spouse is involved in the care of the woman. When a male is or the partner is sitting and kind of just in their phone and just are sleeping or unbothered, then it automatically makes, and this is not a bias that I have because I just cared for people differently, but I've seen it, and they just kind of have a very lax way of caring for the mom, and they're not totally invested in giving her the best experience because they don't feel like they have to. And so that's one of the things that I teach my clients' partners. I use partners a lot now because of the training that I'm in. But it's just super important because the mom feels safer. Like Aleta just mentioned, there might be something that you overheard that the birthing person did not hear, that you can advocate for and stand up. And it just really makes for, it just sets it, like I said, it sets the tone for the medical professionals. Like, I'm not here for games. I'm here to get quality care that I deserve. So it's,
and that's what Ira for Mom did too, right? He was advocating for his wife at the time, and they still didn't, but he was trying. He was like, listen, he went out in the hallway and was like, look, my wife is in pain. And they told him that she just wasn't a priority. So we need that. Because imagine if they didn't even have that level of that extra voice. I mean, it was already worst case scenario, and trying to advocate for his wife. So I think, to your point, Winter, it is, and to your point, Aaron, there is a critical role that our partners have to play in this birth experience and this birth journey.
Yeah. And what do you say to the mom that is afraid? And I know fear is something, that we have to try to overcome sometimes, but it's just when you hear stories like this, it can lead one to like being afraid to give birth or be afraid to have kids. What do you say to that woman who wants to, but hear these stories and are definitely shied away from it?
I tell them to
go ahead.
Just 2 simple things: know your rights, and so that you take the autonomy of knowing what's available to you and doing your research, and find your tribe, your birthing tribe. If you don't like the provider, you don't feel comfortable, you go shop for another one.
Right.
And I just tell women all the time, you're created, your body, once you are pregnant and you're expecting, however, you take that route, you're more than capable of doing it. Fear is a mindset. So our bodies are capable of doing the things that our mind can stop us from doing. But if we allow our minds to get past that fear, our bodies are capable of doing exactly what it's created to do.
Right.
It's just a mindset.
Stay prayed up, like you kept mentioning as well, as being a big a big piece to it. And so I wanted to ask like one of the final questions in regards to this is for you, Aleta, and I know we're centered around the maternal death issue, but I wanted to know, are there any other spaces that you're passionate about using your passion for tech and health? Is there anything outside of health that you have like a deep passion for that you plan on innovating in the future?
I honestly, anything tech innovation is what I'm passionate about. Like this is obviously where my heart is. But if somebody were to come to me tomorrow and say, "Hey, I have this idea to do this," I'm not. I want to innovate. I want to create new ideas. I want to create new innovative solutions using technology. So, new technologies, using the new technologies to create solutions is ultimately. It sounds like a big umbrella. But there's so many complex issues and so much technology that if we all came together, the difference between what we can do and what we are doing, that's enough to solve all the world's problems alone. So anything innovative that involves technology, I'm interested and I'm curious to be a part of the solution. Right now, specifically, I'm really interested in machine learning and AI.
Okay.
People think it's rocket science, but it's not. It sounds great. It sounds like it's like, you have to be a scientist to do it, but it's really just a computer doing human things, human-like.
Right.
So I'm really interested in those algorithms because of the platform that we're working on right now. And that's something that, whether I'm working on M.O.M or not, it's just something that is viable for any technology solution. So.
Right. And then Winter, I have a final question for you. Where do you, well, this is not my final question. I'm going to have another final question for both of you. But Winter, like, where do you want, M.O.M to go? Now, I know that you all are like primarily operating in the Pittsburgh area. But as far as scaling the directory, like, what are some other cities that you plan on launching next? Like, are you coming to LA soon? Are you going to New York? Like, what's on your like roadmap for getting M.O.M out there to more folks?
Yeah, we plan to be a national solution.
Okay.
Moms are dying everywhere.
Right.
And then eventually, hopefully, international, because they're dying outside of the continent too. So we really want to start, once we have refined the template, we want to transfer all of these solutions to every single mom, no matter where they're at.
Amazing, amazing. And then the last question before we talk about the Indiegogo campaign is, on your journey building this company, like it's a two-part question. On your journey building it, what do you think is one thing that has led to the success that you've gathered now to this point? And then what's one thing that you think you need to improve on, or some resources that you need to have in order for it to scale to the next level?
That's a good question. So I guess I can start with the first piece. One of the things that has led to our success, actually critically, is there's so many things. If I could, there's so many things I want to share them all, but I'll just say the ability to have uncomfortable conversations with and trust your partner, because Winter and I, having those differences really complement each other. Like Winter is the clinical expert there, right? I know very minimum clinically. Like I'm involved to the minimum as much as I need to know, but she really owns that space. And I am like the business formalities, technology expert. And sometimes I'm like, this is business, nothing personal. And Winter will sprinkle her magic dust on it, like, well, no, we actually need to add a soft touch on it because from a nursing perspective, and then, we compromise. Or just having uncomfortable conversations about, what are your responsibilities? How much can you work on this when you can work on it? What is your availability or your capacity? Because I can tell you now, like you are probably familiar with this, being an entrepreneur, you literally breathe your baby. Like you're out drinking energy drinks, and then you probably are the most innovative at the worst times of the day. So I'm up at like 3 o'clock in the morning texting Winter, like, Winter, hey, is it okay that I text you? I just thought about this. And she's like, I'll just respond in the morning. Like we have that that level of communication now where it's established and we can understand each other and not necessarily get offended, because it is everything that we do. If it's not benefiting mom, it doesn't really matter, right? But having that level of understanding, that communication, and just willing to have those uncomfortable conversations has really led us to be successful.
Amazing. And then Winter, the second part, if there's anything that you think that needs to happen in order for it to scale to the next level, what do you think that thing is? And I know one thing that I saw on your campaign is that, other like competitors being more accepting is one thing as well, right? What do you think those things are for you guys to take it to the next level, or you all to take it to the next level?
Yeah, I think because we're working on it at a local level right now, it's just the motherhood resources that are already serving the community, that they don't look at us like competitors, because again, we want to house all of the resources in our platform. So we're not here to step on anyone's feet. One of our values is collaboration. And so I think that once they understand that piece, then we are just better and stronger together, and we're serving them all, which is what everyone's passion point is, and what brings us together in general. So
amazing. And then I kept talking about it throughout the interview, but you all have an Indiegogo campaign right now to raise, I believe, $50,000, correct? So, and I know where you guys are, you both are moving forward to hitting that, and I hope you all do hit it. And I'm going to do everything I can to help you all hit it. But can you just share, like, I guess in 30 seconds or a minute, in regards to where that money is going, and then also how important it is, and how should people donate to the Indiegogo campaign?
It is extremely important. In 30 seconds, it's going straight to the solution, straight to the platform. It costs money to build out all of the features, these APIs, to collect the data, to pay the doulas for the research, like all of these components that we want to make the platform the most valuable cost money. So every single dollar that we get, none of it is going in our pocket. And $50, it seems ambitious, but we're going to keep requesting money because it costs almost 4 times as much as that to get to where we want to get to. So.
Amazing. Well, thank you both, Winter and Aleta, for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I'll definitely link the Indiegogo campaign in the post and on this YouTube channel for you all to go in and donate. But thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And like I like to end every episode, I want to remind you, and I want to remind anybody that's listening, that's building anything, to trust the process, enjoy the process, love the process, because you are built for it. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.